Tim Petrowich for Dateline Marion, and again we're talking with Marion head football coach Kerry Martin, and we're doing this for a 10th episode for this season. And that means the Wildcats are in the playoffs. We talked about qualifying a couple weeks ago, and we'll talk about the playoff opponent in just a minute. But first of all, got to talk about Friday night.
Sure.
The Wildcats took one on the chin, lost to Mattoon 26-23. Coach, you said after the game you felt like Mattoon just really seemed to be a lot more motivated than the Wildcats were Friday night.
They played like it. I mean, they played, I thought, with a different level of enthusiasm. You know, and of course, I believe that falls on me. That maybe I didn't have my kids as ready as I should have. We thought we did. We had a great week of practice. There was just a fire about them. And I told our kids afterwards, I said, I feel like the last 2 weeks we've kind of lacked that. Not that we've played bad the last 2 weeks, but I feel like we've not been playing downhill defensively. We've not been playing as aggressive offensively. We've been just not as urgent about things. And so maybe that falls on me as much as anybody, but I believe they were the hungrier team, at least on the field looking like it. I don't believe in all that rah-rah enthusiasm sometimes, but I felt like they were the more excited team, the team that was more ready to play that ball game, just not in scheme, but just in effort. And our kids played hard, but I think they played harder. And I felt like their quarterback, and I tell you, to be honest with you, I thought that's the best I've seen them look. We had 3 films of Mattoon going into the game that we studied pretty hard, of course, and I felt like that was the best game they played. I felt like they went to another level and beat us 26-23, and we'll give Mattoon a whole lot of credit today, because I think their head coach and their coaching staff and their kids took it to us.
Now, you talked about their quarterback. We talked about him before the game, Jack Pilson, and he had a whale of a game. Threw for 250 yards, ran for 120 yards, and was pretty prominent in their offense, and he was really hard to handle.
He was, and going in, we talked about the game was going to be based on him. We knew that going in. We said that if he plays well, they've got a chance to win, but if we can contain him and limit him, well, we're going to win the football game. And he had probably his best game of the year, passing and running combination against us. And I just thought he put his team on his shoulders and carried them right through 4 quarters of football. I think the first 3 runs they had of the game were his. I think he stood in the pocket, he made some great throws, and they made some great catches. We have a post route one time on a 3rd down, I think, that Frankie Horner has great coverage on. But that ball is put about the only place it could be put for a completion. And not only was it put there, the kid caught it. They had a touchdown pass in the corner against us. Might have been the first touchdown pass they threw. We have great coverage. Coverage good enough, it's dang near almost pass interference. And the kid makes the catch. Over his shoulder, makes a quick look. And, one of those games where it just felt like things went their way, and when we would get a break, we didn't take advantage of it. We dropped some interceptions. They had some snaps on the ground. We had some short yardage situations. We didn't pick up the first down. Little things in close ball games mean everything. And I thought they won more of those little thing battles. They won more of those big play moments than we did.
I think one of those plays you're talking about in particular was on a conversion attempt where you got the touchdown, they went off sides on the extra point, you decide to go for 2, and everything worked well except that Boston and Drake kind of collided on the handoff, and it slowed the whole play down, and Drake wasn't able to get into the end zone.
It did, and when you watch the film, everything is right. We missed one guy. We missed the Mike backer scraping, and one kid just missed him, the next kid just missed him, and he knifes in right behind it. He's the only kid that can make the play. He made the play. And, it was just, you give me 1.5 yards and you give us our tight offense and you put James Gunn and Peyton Marion as your lead blockers, I'd do that 10 more times in a row. I felt like it was the obvious thing. So, but it's funny because people think when you go for 2, you should have went for 1. Going for 1 isn't automatic. Now, with Tyson Stecklin, it's almost automatic. But they missed an extra point kicking to keep the game at 20-20 at one time. So extra points aren't automatic. And I believe when you got a good short yardage offense and you're on the 1.5 yard line, you're halfway, you get a penalty like that, think you got to take that chance and let them play catch up on those extra points a little bit. But we didn't execute it. Like I said, they had one kid, a Mike Backer, scraped through. We had everyone else blocked. Got a great surge. One guy could make the play. He made the play. So just felt like that's the kind of night it was,
Second half was kind of strange because both teams moved the ball up down the field.
Yeah.
Neither one of them could get in the end zone, and
Yeah.
that's where special teams came in, and there was some field goals kicked, and everybody executed their special teams plays, but just came up one opportunity short.
It was, and it's frustrating to imagine that we scored 3 points in the second half. I mean, that's just
Now for a second half team.
Yeah, and just to hear me say that, I've said it a couple times during the week and after the game. I'm like, we scored 3 points in the second half, and there's just been so few times that's ever happened, and just had some good drives. I've said that too many times this year, but where we had good drives and failed to get the ball in the end zone. So it was wasn't one thing. It was a combination of things, but I don't know. Credit to Mattoon because we just had opportunities we didn't take advantage of, and I felt like they took advantage of maybe one or two more opportunities than we did and made a difference in the game.
We've caught a lot of names on the offense and players that have started to come into their own. We've talked about of course Boston has done his thing. Drake has become a pretty solid running back. We talked about Cabanis as a receiver.
Mm-hmm.
We talked about Frankie Horner as a receiver. We've talked about some of the things Noah Mofield's done. I think maybe we added another weapon Friday night. I mean, we've used him a few times, but I thought Jake Welch had a really good game Friday.
Jake Welch has had a good season for us. He's become a bit of a playmaker for us, and we need that. He's ran the ball well, but his receiving skills and his ability to get yards after catch have been really important. I think in our offense, where we're going to spread the field, try to get some RPO stuff going, and he made some really nice runs after the catch, and he's been a good weapon for us. And I think Boston's really gained a lot of confidence in him, and then to see Noah Mofield catch a big touchdown pass. I mean, those two kids at H-back do a really good job for us, and they both ran the ball and caught the ball well for us, and two good senior football players, man, and I don't know where we'd be without them.
And you got Vincent in the offense a little bit last week,
We
too.
did. He continues to grow and get better and get some confidence, and he's going to be a super player here at Marion High School. Just a freshman playing wide receiver, and I think going to hear his name a lot the next 4 years.
Now, I know that there was a lot of disappointment. It's probably a long bus ride home because coming home from that game, you were probably about 98% certain that Marion would be taking a road trip in the playoffs.
Yeah, I would have bet a lot of money we would be on the road with that loss, because just the way things are traditionally, 6-3 teams don't play at home. So, but it wasn't all the way into the trip, but probably halfway into the trip we started checking scores, and as those scores began coming up, and it was upset Friday. I mean, there were so many upsets. Things started to change, and we began to look at our bracket, thinking, you know what? Home game's not out of the realm of possibilities. And so by the time we got home, we thought it was a possibility. Still thinking we're going to be on the road, but we thought it was a possibility. And I think by Saturday we were fairly well convinced we were going to end up somewhere at a home ball game against another 6-3 team. It happened.
Not only that, Mattoon got a home game at 6-3 as well after that win, so that was important for them as well.
Oh, huge. I mean, there's a big win for them, and I mean, that's the first time I think they've beaten us, if I remember right, since 2003. We played kind of off and on playoff games, have series, and so I know they were hungry to get a piece of the Cats, and so that was I know a big win for them, not only for that reason, but the playoff ramifications. They got a home game against a team that beat them earlier in the year, so it's a rematch for them. So a lot of things happened on Friday. Friday was a really interesting weekend for the playoff pairings and the shuffling that goes on with every win and every loss, and how it changed the dynamic of the playoff outlook.
We've talked about the strange football season all year, and so now you look, and in that southern Illinois, or the southern half of the state bracket, which isn't Southern Illinois because you've got a Chicago suburban team in there, at least one. 9 teams in that bracket are 6-3.
Yeah.
Okay. Marion's the number one, the highest seeded of the 6-3 teams.
Yeah.
So you come in as a number 6 seed. You get to host a team that you've not seen before, but you've seen 2 other schools in that district before.
Right.
So you play Rich East in the playoffs at home Saturday afternoon. You played Rich South in the regular season twice. You played Rich Central last year in the playoffs. What do we know about Rich East?
They want to run the football. They are a run first offense, and they bring everybody. You've heard them say the old student body right, student body left, and bring the kitchen sink. And I mean, they do it all. They are a run first football team. They pull a lot of people. They try to get a lot of people on the perimeter. They try to get a lot of people at the point of attack. We have some familiarity with it because we do some similar things in our tight set, but they probably take it to another level as far as how many guys they pull, because it is their full-time offense. They do throw it a little bit, but they want to run the football. They have some very big kids. They've got a couple of offensive linemen, one in particular that is a mountain. They have a tight end that's a very big kid. They've got an H-back. They have 2 H-backs in the backfield. One of them is a very large human being. So they're built to run this offensive set. So it'll be really important that we try to match that. We got to get some stops. We got to get some turnovers. We got to hope they get some penalties to slow down some drives. What they'll do is they will take the ball methodically down the field and keep your offense off the field. They'll limit your possessions to maybe 3 or 4 per half. And what that does sometimes, Tim, is it affects your rhythm. And I think that's the thing. When you're on the sideline a long time, waiting on a chance to get on the field and run your offense, you can lose your rhythm. And offense very much is rhythm.
Well, that might have happened a little bit Friday night because I know Matt Toon took 5 minutes for that first touchdown. Then you went down the field and scored in a minute and 50 seconds.
Yeah.
And so then when they took a long time, then it kind of threw things out of sync.
It can. It doesn't always, but it can, because you hear this a lot in football, that offense has a rhythm to it. And when you have no rhythm, when you're not getting a first down, when you just are having trouble, because once a team gets into a rhythm and they're calling plays and they're getting that snap and they're getting rolling, good things happen. You get some momentum. Players start to play a little bit faster. Their blocks get a little crisper, and getting that rhythm is important. And sometimes these run possession teams can take that from you or make it difficult to regain that rhythm. So I think that's their modus operandi. They want to hold on to the ball, pound it down the field, put a lot of people at the point of attack, and so we've got to get some stops. There's no doubt. Whereas the quarterback was the key last week to the ball game, and it proved to be true. I think the key to this ball game is us getting stops, number one, and number two, when we get the ball, we got to do something with it, because our chances with the ball may not be as many as we normally have. So a squandered drive could hurt more in this game than maybe, or could be magnified more than in previous games. So we go in knowing that it's not something we're surprised by. They're a good team. They play in a good conference with some quality opponents, and we are familiar. We played all the Riches. We played the Rich Central, the Rich South, the Rich East. We played them all, and it's hard to believe you can be in Southern Illinois, and in the last 6 or 7 years play all three schools in the same district. Yeah. So that's pretty crazy, but it adds to what you and I have talked about all year. What a crazy season! Friday was the craziest thing statewide I've seen, as far as 4-4 teams beating 8-1 teams to make the playoffs.
Right.
Just different things, different scores, different outcomes, and then you get the playoff pairings and you see this 6-3 home game. It's just been that kind of year,
Talk about, because they like to run the ball, this is probably going to be maybe the stiffest test for your offensive and defensive lines.
Yeah, it may be, and I think Rochelle was a very strong running team and came in with a reputation of a wing T, power run team, and I'm trying to think. Of course, Highland can do both, but they love to put the ball in the air to people like Sam Laporta. But I would have to say by far this is the toughest challenge we've had as far as stopping the run. So it's a big challenge for us. I'm glad to say I feel good that we have a strong offensive and defensive line. I think that's been a bit of one of our strengths this year, is our lines. So we've got the personnel, but we're not that deep. But the kids we have, I think, are capable of meeting this challenge. And we told them, just like anybody else, like every year, you make the playoffs, you need to elevate, because good playoff teams elevate, and we're going to have to do that to win on Saturday.
So Saturday afternoon, we're going to have the turf, the scoreboard, the home crowd, leaves starting to turn colors.
Yep.
Is there going to be a better place to be on Saturday afternoon?
This is it, man. This is exciting. And the cool thing about it, the longer you play through the playoffs, the better it gets. The weather gets dark early. You need to turn lights on for practice. You said the leaves are changing and falling on the field, and there's just a feel about it. So we feel very blessed to have earned another playoff opportunity, but we want to keep going. It's our goal every year, and we don't want to be satisfied with just a playoff appearance. But 5A is tough, and 5A has always been tough. I think 5A is tougher than it was a few years ago, and I think more and more quality teams are making it, and being in 5A is a real challenge. So you win a 5A playoff game, it's a big deal, and so we know we've got a big challenge ahead of us. We're excited about it. We've got a great week of preparation. The coaching staff has really been on their A game this week, so we hope we can go out and get our kids ready and execute and play with that fire that I think we've been missing the last couple of weeks. We really addressed that this week pretty hard. So part of elevating your game and your performance is elevating your attitude and your effort, and so we got some kids going to be excited on Saturday.
So I have to ask this question, and I love the turf, and I wouldn't give the turf back, but does just a little bit of you miss the brown grass and the blue lines for the playoffs?
Absolutely. And to explain that, we for years we had Bermuda here,
right?
And we had this beautiful Bermuda field, but when it starts to get cold, the Bermuda dies and turns brown. Well, white numbers didn't show up on brown grass.
The navy blue.
Navy blue lines and navy blue numbers, and then they would the guys that lined the field, Mike Mayhew and his crew would add paw prints in the end zone. Oh my gosh, it was such a great look. Yeah, I miss that. I don't miss the field conditions and the rain.
Absolutely.
Boy, I miss that brown playoff grass. That was pretty sweet. I always look forward to that. We knew that if you're playing on brown grass, you've had a heck of a year. And we were fortunate between 06 and I think 11 to play on brown grass quite a bit for that period of time. And again, in 15, we started having 13, started having turf, so we've kind of lost that. That's a bit of nostalgia. A lot of people watching may not remember.
That's right.
But that's pretty special.
Any shout outs this week?
Shout out goes to our video crew. We have a group of young men, and I just want to give a shout out to them. I want to give a shout out to the coaching staff overall. I mean, they have just dedicated so much time and effort. Defensive coaching staff, especially this year, Coach Dunning, Coach Warner, Coach Wimberly have just really done a great job. They kept us in that game again on Friday, and the offense just didn't do enough. But I want to give a shout out to those guys because, and our lower level kids had a great season. Our what we call our JV, Jeff Tarleton, Mitch Jordan, Cody Pauls, Nathan Butler, those guys have really taken huge strides with our young kids. They had a great season. I think they lost one ball game. The future of Marion football looks very good. We have a very talented group of young players that will be coming up next year to help fill a void of losing 20 seniors. Mm-hmm. And we'll be young next year, but I think there's a lot of young talent coming, and they do such a good job with them. I mean, I have parents all the time tell me what a great experience their kid has had at the freshman, sophomore level this year. And boy, as a head coach, that's what you want to hear. So shout out to those guys.
So let's do what we can to do this at least one more time.
Let's keep doing it. Let's do. All right. Sounds good.
Saturday afternoon, 2 o'clock, right here at Wildcat Stadium, Marion against Rich East. That's Marion head football coach Kerry Martin. For Dateline Marion, I'm Tim Petrowich.